London, the city of dreams, lights, and endless opportunities. But what happens when those dreams meet a reality shaped by rejection and silence? This is the story of David, a young African immigrant whose voice was almost forgotten until he chose to rise unheard. When David first arrived in London, his heart was full of hope. He imagined himself walking into new opportunities, building a life full of success. The tall buildings, the busy streets, the sound of trains and buses, everything felt like the beginning of something great. But dreams often look different from reality. The first time David tried to rent a flat, the landlord looked at him from head to toe and simply said, "Sorry, we don't rent to people like you." It wasn't about money. It wasn't about paperwork. It was about the color of his skin. That moment hit David like a wall. He realized the city he admired could also reject him in seconds. Still, he didn't give up. He sent CVs to every company he could find, applied for jobs, and walked into interviews with confidence. But rejection followed him like a shadow. "We'll call you back." "Sorry, the position is filled." Doors kept closing. Finally, he found a small job at a coffee shop, but even there, people mocked his accent. Some customers ignored him completely, and one day, on the train, an elderly woman stood up rather than sit beside him. These may sound like small things, but for David, they were heavy wounds. Alone in his tiny rented room at night, he would stare at the ceiling and ask himself, "Did I make a mistake? Is London even meant for me? Are my dreams too big for someone like me?" But destiny had a different plan. One afternoon, while walking through the neighborhood, David entered a community center. There he met Uncle James, an elderly man with a calm smile but eyes full of history. Seeing the sadness on David's face, Uncle James said, "Son, your struggle does not define you. Your strength does." He sat David down and told him stories from the 70s and 80s, a time when black communities in London faced even harsher realities. He told of protests, of neighborhoods that refused to bow down, of people who built safe spaces when no one gave them space. He told David, "We fought because silence was not an option, and we stood together because unity was our survival." These words lit a fire inside David. For the first time, he felt connected, not as an outsider, but as part of a long history of resilience. Inspired, David decided he wouldn't let his voice remain silent. Together with a few friends, he started a storytelling circle. They would gather in small rooms, sharing experiences, pain, and victories. What began as quiet conversations grew louder. Soon, local newspapers discovered them. Schools invited them to speak to young people. And slowly, the city that once ignored their voices began to listen. David realized something powerful. London may have tried to break me, but it also gave me the chance to rebuild myself, stronger, louder, and united with others. His journey wasn't about one man anymore. It was about all the unheard voices rising together, voices that carried pain, but also pride, struggles, but also strength. Today, David says with confidence, dreams don't come true with hard work alone. They require courage, unity, and resilience. Our voices were once silenced, but today, we rise unheard. Behind every struggle lies a story, and every story has the power to inspire a new generation. This is not just David's story. This is the story of countless unheard voices. This is Rise Unheard.